I've kicked you out. Debbie told me to come.
Good evening and welcome to the Monday, March 23rd, 2020 Litchfield Board of Selectmen's meeting. The board has just come out of a paperwork review. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. and ask everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First we have is the review and approval of consent items. We have the February 24th, 2020 meeting minutes. We have the January town clerk's reconciliation. We have 3 veterans credits. We have 1 land use change tax. We have account payable manifest of March 17th, 2020 in the sum of $115,872.33 and of March 24th, 2020 in the sum of $19,969.13. We have a payroll manifest of March 19th, 2020 in the sum of $63,705.14 and March 26th, 2020 in the sum of $56,121.39. Are there any items members would like to have been removed from consent? Hearing none, I'll accept the motion.
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Leary, second by Mr. Pinciero. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Rich?
On the veterans credit,
Yes.
do veterans have to abstain from that?
No.
No.
Okay.
Yep.
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstained? Motion carries 5-0-0. Are there any other items of business members would like to add this evening? Public input will occur nowhere earlier than 6:45 p.m. The first item of business is property revaluations Avatar update. Mr. Brown.
Okay. We were originally scheduled to have a representative from the Department of Revenue Administration here this evening and some folks from Avatar, the company that does our assessing. They, because of everything going on, DRA has, requested that the meeting be postponed. So I wanted Avatar to at least give the board an update because they're starting to make plans on proceeding forward with the 2020 revaluation update. So I think we have Chad Roberge that's going to be connected here live, and he'll give the board an update. You there, Chad?
I am. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, welcome. Thank you for coming. Well, participating, I should say.
No problem. Coming virtually. So as far as the reevaluation is going, I think we're still going to be on schedule because a lot of our work is in our offices and then in the car. So we're not going to be dealing too much with the public in that aspect. The thing that might be affected going forward with the reval would be hearings. And I would say worst case, we'll offer people the phone appointments. So instead of typically we meet in the office, the town offices, and we meet with people and talk through everything. But worst case with today's events, we would have to do that over the phone, which isn't horrible, but it's not the best thing. Best case is everything gets better and we can still hold the hearings. Hearings are still scheduled for not until June 15th, so it's still quite a ways out. So hopefully things get better by then. But if not, we'll just do everything by phone at that point. So the reval is all still on schedule. The way we're operating right now, if we're doing data verification or new construction, is we are not doing interiors. So we're going to the property, knocking on the door, and then stepping back, to keep that distance. And then just letting them know that we will be measuring the exterior of the home if they allow it. And that later on, this year or next year, they'll get a letter asking if they'd like to do an interior at that time once everything's been deemed okay. So that's the reevaluation and field update from my perspective. I don't know if anyone has any questions or concerns.
Gentlemen, any questions?
I have no idea.
I mean, we don't typically get too many appointments. We've been doing Litchfield a long time, and it's I think everyone is pretty well aware of their avatar card, so
Yes.
it's pretty painless now.
I have no questions.
All right. I guess there's no questions. We appreciate you giving us the update, and be safe out there interacting with people.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Troy, I just wanted to ask, has the DRA let you know what they're expecting of you with regards to your cyclical stuff?
I've really had no contact with the DRA at this point in time.
Okay, because me either, and we have a little bit of involvement with that in terms of when they're asked for information, but they haven't really told us if they're delaying those for towns or whatnot. So I didn't know. You guys usually hear first, so I didn't know if they'd given you any sort of correspondence.
Not yet. I have not received anything through
Okay.
email or hard mail. Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, everyone stay healthy.
Thank you, Chad. Appreciate it. Take care.
You too. Have a good night.
You too.
So I have no connection right now. Not getting anywhere.
Did you, the old
No.
web is still working.
You have an Apple?
No, it's Chrome, but which one are you connected? I got Town Meeting Room.
No, TH1. That's the new one that John just. You see that one?
The one I'm using, Troy, is the one you sent out. It's the whole meeting tonight.
There's the password for it if you need it.
Troy, you can still use Litchfield NH if you need to, but you should be
Yeah.
on Town Hall.
For whatever reason, it's nothing's letting me in, but so I think just try to keep going here now.
Okay. Okay, the next item on the agenda is Moores Falls. Conservation area, discarded needles and syringes. So we have Matt Lepore with us from Conservation Committee. We've had an issue over the last several months about debris washing up in Moores Falls and syringes being found. Matt, I believe you're with us virtually.
Yes.
Could you give the board an update of what's been transpiring out there, please?
Yes, I can. So since August of last year, through monitoring that property, Moores Falls, I've been noticing that we've been seeing some syringes appearing up to the shore in one particular area on the southern part of the property that's closer to St. Francis and kind of accessed off of the Justin Young Trail. So there have been 3 separate instances where I found syringes, contacted the fire department, barricaded off the trails that led to the section of the property. And you know, this essentially the way we've been dealing with it so far is just calling the fire department, having them come out and clean up the needles, doing our best to clean up the remainder of the debris down there, and just making sure that people understand that there's a hazard down there and that they shouldn't be accessing that part of the property. This latest instance, which was back in February, I was giving a tour to a couple visitors, and I located the needles. Called the fire department, went down there with a steel rake, was raking through it, found through the brush, and found a third needle. And in this instance, it was a little, as it stands right now, the situation is kind of aggravated because along with those needles, they're coming in with piles of fine brush and debris and twigs. So it's really hard to tell, you know, what else might be in there. It's kind of a lot of debris, so we might have to ask Highway Department to assist us in bringing some of that trash out. That's what I got.
Chair, I got a question.
Sure.
Matt, Kevin Lynch. The question I have, did these needles float? When you take them, you throw them in the water. Are they floating?
I can't be too sure what the origin is. I believe needles can float.
Yeah.
They've been the pattern I've been noticing is that each time I've been finding syringes, it's after the river has been high. And typically what happens when we see a lot of rainfall or a period of, the snow melting and the river gets high is that a lot of trash comes down that river. And it gets kind of tangled up in the shoreline and in the trees there and the roots. And then when the river drops back down, all that stuff just stays on the shore.
Okay.
So it's possible that they are floating downriver.
I'm pretty sure. Matt, I've been in town all my life. We've seen this problem before where it comes and goes. The area up there where you're talking about near St. Francis, that's where it comes down to the falls and hits a circle, okay, where it gets in and it boils up against the bank. Hits the bank and then shoots off to the west to go back down the river. It gets trapped in that zone right there. That's where you just said you've been finding them in that area. So these guys are coming from another vicinity too as well. It's not people out there, I believe, just doing it there. I think it's coming from a visiting town above or city. Okay. So that sounds something we have to consider as well. Okay, I don't think it's an on-site situation. It's just an on-site depot where it ends up at. Okay, which is a good catch-all, as we say.
So based on that, Kevin, and being on the conservation, I asked Troy if he would go off and talk to legal counsel and insurance about our liability. And Troy, would you like to share the response we got back?
Sure. The response was pretty much consistent from both our insurance company and legal counsel. And attached to, your site here, you'll see the comments that I posted. But in general, this is public property. It's managed by the town of Litchfield through the Conservation Commission, which we all know are volunteer citizens. But we have the property open and we welcome the public to come enjoy it. When we become aware of a potential safety hazard, then we need to take action to make sure we've done everything that we can to warn the users of the park that there's a danger, and that would be in the form of probably using appropriate signage, marking the area off, and then once that's done, contacting our fire department, which is trained and they have the equipment to be able to go out and collect these sharps. And dispose of them properly. So that was the consistent message we received back from both legal counsel and our insurance company. I think that if we took no action, and obviously if someone were injured, then there is that chance that the town could be held responsible. So it's just like the pothole in the road. We're not responsible, but once we become aware of it, we need to take action to eliminate that problem. So I don't know what, this has all kind of happened kind of quickly. And that's why we had Matt on the phone with us to, I understand, Matt, and I understand from the fire chief that you have been working with the fire department and they have actually gone out a few times and collected some of these discarded syringes and needles.
Just as a point, my point was, I just want to make it clear, it's not always people there.
Correct.
It's floating, okay? These things float. Wherever they're coming from above, that is a depot area right there. That's because of the churning of the river.
I think the issues of
We just simply
homeless
don't
that are along the
know
bank
for
of
sure
the
what the
rivers up
origin.
in Manchester. Although the police did make a lot of arrests in that area along the bank and inside on that island up by just beyond the trestle.
Yep.
They were living out there. I don't know what you could do other than short of closing the park temporarily or whatever
At least just that area, where the
at least that area, and then maybe fence it off, tape it off or put some barriers up or something.
Well, Matt, you have been taping off the area, correct? Well, I should say the Conservation Committee has.
Yes.
Yes. So I barricade off the area. I also have been adding keep out signs to make the point a little bit more clear that, not to go past the tape because it's red danger tape, but I want to make it a little bit more clear that we don't want people going past it. And I photographed that with, the timestamp to make sure that we have record that it went up. So in case that it gets torn down, or if it breaks or something, then we know it's still up. And I've been regularly going out there on a daily basis to make sure that that nobody's going back there and that the barricades are still up, and gradually trying to clean it up as I go.
Thank you. That's greatly appreciated.
So
Are
you're
the
policing it.
needles in the water or on the
You
shore?
wash up under the shore when the water starts going up
Is
and
there,
down in that area.
is
On
there
the
any
shore.
chance of someone down there fishing to step on one of those? or-
That was one of the other concerns we had talking
Yeah.
about the conservation
And
committee.
it's in that,
Right.
it's not where the fall is per
So-
se, it's down farther.
Below the channel, where the channels are?
No, it's where the irrigation pump used to come in on the lower side down
I
there.
know where that is.
Yeah, okay, we know where they built the
Way
other
down.
building,
There,
Near
way
the
down.
field.
right in that area.
Matt, Rich Lascelles, do these needles have the plastic guards on the needle part, or is the needle part exposed?
the needle is exposed. All needles found were exposed.
Okay. So the other question, if I understand the sewage system in Manchester, you had mentioned after it rains, you see them more. The sewage system is not a secondary system. I mean, it's not processed twice. It just, and that becomes an issue when the storm drains go into the sewer. Is it possible that these are going through the sewage system and coming out that way?
Storm drainage. Yep.
I'd say anything's possible. We haven't been able to nail down a source for these needles. But yeah, I'd say it could be anything.
The other question is, have we informed City of Manchester about this at all? Not that they could do much, but
I have not. No, it's just recently come to my attention.
We just started a couple weeks ago, really investigating liability and so forth. I know Matt's been spending some time from a conservation committee. It's been the last few meetings we've discussed it, right, Matt?
Yes. This is something that's of concern to us. We've been discussing it frequently.
Chair, Rich has got a good point, and it's stormwater too as well.
Mhm.
The sewage is one thing, but they're working up down in Manchester right now, separating stormwater from sewer. Okay, and that's one of the issues that's coming out. Your stormwater somehow goes into it. There's no screen or filter. They could be coming from all over.
Dropping them down
Okay,
the catch
down
basins.
the catch basin and coming down. It's just an area that I think we're going to have to police more. Strangely enough, this may sound a little off the air, but put up some Sharpie containers, okay? If people find something,
I don't want anybody touching them. That's the
I
biggest
strong-
thing, yeah.
you
I
don't
would
recommend it?
strongly
Okay, I
discourage
figured
that.
we had some adults down there. I figured they can handle it, but I guess
I mean,
let it go
So-
with that.
I don't think we'll ever
The-
truly
the-
know where
the-
the source is, but we're going to have to do something to do the cleanup and be responsible for the cleanup down there.
Yeah, so it's right now the issue is there's still trash kind of in that fine brush. So I just like to take all of that out of there, because then it would be such a tedious process of, like sifting for gold, just going through all the trash and all that down there. And it would be beneficial if we had the ability to get all that out there and get all of it out of there, like the town's 1 ton, just scoop it all up and get it out of there.
We could get from the police, you can get the disposable boxes for the needles to give to our employees, and then
Fire.
purchase some real heavy duty welding gloves for these guys to handle those needles, so that we don't have to worry about them getting punctured. And send them down there to do it.
From us.
Pardon?
Asking Matt what does he need from us? What would you like from us?
So for the moment, I'd like to be able to reach out to Highway, or somebody could reach out to Highway and see what the possibility would be of getting their assistance with a vehicle. I think I would be able to handle bringing some of the trash up. If we have a wheelbarrow I could use to try and get up there, get some trash bags, latex gloves, I just tore a pair of gloves working down there on Saturday.
Mhm.
And there's another issue with, people going down there so frequently now, either because of the social distancing that's been going on or because of our nice weather, that Moores Falls is very busy. Probably not so much now with the snow going on, but if there's a concern that there might be more needles along other parts of the shore of Moores Falls, because
Mhm.
a lot of the property, the entire western side borders the Merrimack River, if it might be worthwhile to close down the entire shoreline.
Well, can we do that? I don't think we can do that, can we?
No, we can't do
No,
that.
conservation would have to do that, right? Because that's,
No, it's you
yeah.
giving them.
Public
I go,
property.
I'll say this, I've been on the river all my life. The needles are not the first thing. I've seen them out there before. Okay, it all depends on the current, which size it goes. It goes up and down. There's some years where they may collect a little bit more. And with the new needles today, they float a little longer. Okay. It's civilization. I'm going to have to say it. Okay. I like the idea of getting some, like Jack mentioned, some heavier gloves. We're adults on the team. They can pick up these things and put them in a Sharpie while they're there. If they see them, instead of bringing somebody else in all the time. Highway needs to come down and help you clean the bank. I got no problem with that. Okay. Because they got the tools, the gloves, and the equipment to do it. They can help at that time. But I think you got to start getting equipment for Matt, whoever wants to go out there, who's on the Conservation Commission, who's been trained or something to pick them up, okay? And just, if he sees one, take care of it, okay? It's
I think
just-
from a liability standpoint, we don't want anybody touching needles other than fire or police.
I don't see that as an issue,
Correct.
that's me.
I agree with that.
I would hate to see somebody helping out, next thing you know, they get pricked by it and, we're set up for liability standpoint. I mean, our police and fire could be part of the cleanup crew when they go do it. And if they find a Sharpie, have them who have been trained to do it and have the experience, let them go pick it up.
Right, because I'd rather not have the general public help us in this cleanup because of that reason, because of that safety issue. It's because then you're asking people to handle potentially used needles. They have to transport them. Then they'd have to bring them to wherever to have them disposed of. The fire department has been great working with us on this, and they have the tools and the capabilities to clean this up with us. So for the meantime, I strongly recommend that we do not encourage any members of the public to help us with this cleanup.
Matt, is that the only area that you've seen them?
Yes. So it's essentially that one location that it's sometimes called the river access because it's another slope, a smooth slope down to the river. But the remainder of the western side of the property is all shoreline there. I haven't found any needles, but I'm always better safe than sorry and assume that there could be more out there and, just really give it a good thorough check. I've been doing the best I can walking up and down the entire shoreline, but, we just got to keep at it.
But you haven't found any at the river access?
No, I think I haven't been down to the regular river access. No.
That hasn't reopened yet, right? That's still closed.
No, it's closed.
Yeah, it's still closed down there.
No.
But I suppose the farther away from our neighboring city to the north, the farther away you get, the less apt you are to find them. But who knows? They could pop up anywhere,
When you hit to the islands, the Twin Islands, they're owned by the town of Merrimack, as we say. Okay, you'll find that's another area.
Oh, but there's a move to take them back.
I know.
What are we gonna do with them?
Sorry.
Matt, you have something to do about. Go get the needles in.
I heard Matt was going to plant a flag on one of those islands.
There's one out there now. It used to be the American flag. It's out there every year. Somebody puts it out there.
So do we have a kind of a joint decision? We'll get a plan together with highway, fire,
Let's work out a plan
and
first.
get a crew out there and see if we can get it cleaned up.
Yep.
Would you help pull that
Good
together,
idea.
please, Troy?
I also like to see if we can get some of our people trained in picking up Sharpies because it's not just there. It's on the side of the road.
Yeah, we
The
might.
highway
wanna-
crews are out there. Let's work them, okay? So I hate to say it that way. Sorry, Jack.
We ought to ask Recreation if they ever find anything at Dara Pond.
We could ask.
Okay.
Just the beer cans.
So to recap, then we're gonna ask if Highway can,
Work out a plan.
drive a vehicle down and pick up whatever debris is collected.
That man picks up.
Matt, conservation folks are going to organize volunteers to collect this debris, haul it up to an area where the highway can collect it and haul it away.
That's a no.
And then I can check with recreation to see if they're having any issues.
Not to interrupt you, but there is a way of driving down through there. You can drive all the way down there.
Yep.
If you go down, keep going, instead of turning to the church, just go straight. You'll come into a field, stay to the right, go all the way down. You'll be right down to the river where they used to put in the pump.
Yep.
And it's
So
right there.
there is an issue with that.
The culvert's
So,
washing
a
away.
couple things about getting vehicle access down there. So I believe in order to get in access at that point, we'd have to reach out to St. Francis and let them know that this is going on. I have been in contact with them about this issue, but in terms of getting a vehicle down there and letting them know about a cleanup, I think that might be necessary. But also, there's a fallen tree kind of like past the barricaded zone that I need to get in there with a chainsaw and remove. It's a sizable tree. That would kind of be our one point of access is through St. Francis, because I don't think there are any other ways that you could really get a vehicle in there.
Mr.
It's
Chair,
also the shortest distance.
Mr. Chair, on that matter, all due respect to Matt and his chainsaw skills, I would suggest we talk to the highway department in St. Francis to be more than willing because they want to keep that accessible themselves. I'm pretty sure. Okay, to work out it with our highway crew going down to clean out.
You got a washout right there. After
We have
you
the
get on
washout with that
road.
culvert too. You know what we're
That's what
talking
I'm
about?
talking about, that culvert washout. Yeah, that's never been fixed.
That's never been fixed.
So you're only going to go maybe 30,
Yeah.
40 feet before you hit that culvert again,
So then you got to go from the other side in, from the
Do you-
north side down.
down over the bank. And
You
down-
wouldn't have to cross the culvert
I understand,
through
Matt.
St. Francis.
That's
Where
correct.
is it? What did he say?
The culvert is south of St. Francis, the one that we're
Yeah,
talking
okay.
about, Jeff.
Yep.
The area we got to come down. You can come down. I was hoping to get a trail from the Route 3A all the way down to the
Yep.
car track because they are referring to the car track. That's the passageway that we're talking about. It's the old car track that comes down there.
Yep.
That's what the other way to get to the other areas where they just built that industrial building, right near Mel's. There's an area there that gets down to the river from there into that little settle
The
area.
road right there. That
Yep.
goes down.
Okay.
Would you help them showing them where the access
I
is?
will
if
show
they
them where
don't know?
things are. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, Matt, thank you very much. I appreciate all your efforts. Thanks for the update and, everything you've done for us down there.
Absolutely, my pleasure. You all feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions, okay?
Okay, I'm sure Troy will be in contact with you.
Okay, awesome.
Thanks,
Have a
Matt.
great
Have a good
night,
night.
everyone.
Be safe. Take care.
Thank you, Matt.
Sounds like Mr. Lynch
You as
took
well.
Mrs. Lynch down there when they were dating.
I hate to say this, guys, but my kids swam in the river. I trained them. Okay. So did yours. Okay. And we used to go to the sandbar out there on the Merrimack side because there's a nice sandbar and the kids fished out there and they swam in the river. And what they're talking about is on the other side of that, on the Litchfield side, where the water jetties coming off the falls. And that's where it circles and that's where everything gets entrapped.
Collection, yeah.
Okay. That's the whole area. Yes. Mrs. Lynch didn't go though.
The next item is the Board of Selectmen Order 2021-01, COVID-19. Mr. Brown.
All right. Well, we've held, I think, 3 emergency management meetings now, all via telephone conferencing. except for our first initial meeting. And one of the things that's become apparent is that this situation, the rules of engagement are changing almost on an hourly basis. So I thought that, I talked to Chairman Weber, I thought that, the board should probably start acting on some type of written documentation so we can track the decisions that we make as we proceed forward. So I made up a draft of Order 2020-1. And my thought is that as we continue to add additional decisions to the document, we would just amend the order. I don't want to have it turn to 2020-2, 2020-3, but we could just amend this order. And if we have any other orders in the future, we'll call it 2020-2. The governor is issuing executive orders. They're having a tracking of 1, 2, 3, 4.
He's up in the teens
Teens
now,
now, yeah.
Yeah.
and that's daily.
Yeah. So I kind of thought we would just keep a central document. We'll just add bullets to it as we make changes. And
Living, breathing document.
yeah, it's easier for our website. John Burnell will keep it there. It'll be linked and it'll be a live document. So anyhow, with that being said, I thought what I could do is I can read through this, and if we all in agreement with the way it's reads this evening, we can adopt this. And then again, like I said, we may have an emergency meeting 24 hours from now, and we'll be discussing an amendment to Order 2020-1. So it starts off, Board of Selectmen Order 2020-1, March 23rd, 2020, draft at this point in time. To prevent the spread and transmission of the novel coronavirus, COVID-19, and protect the health and safety of Litchfield residents and town employees, it is hereby ordered by the Litchfield Board of Selectmen, effective immediately, that residents are encouraged to use the town's emergency alert system, Code Red. You can register online. It has a link there to register. We hope that people are out there actively getting signed up, updating their information on our Code Red alert system. To ensure all residents are well informed, emergency management communications shall be posted on the town website, our Facebook page, Twitter account, Code Red Emergency Alert System, and the Litchfield Public Access Television. The school Blackboard communication system will be used as necessary. So during our group discussions with our emergency management team, which includes school personnel, at this point in time, they have about, I think they said 1,600 registered users that they communicate with the parents of students attending our schools. And we can, I think, selectively use that system when we have to get really urgent messages out. So
I have a technical question about this. On the Litchfield Public Access Television, a lot of people are getting away from Comcast and they're going through YouTube as their feeder.
Mm-hmm.
Would that need to be added to this, you think?
well, the YouTube would be.
I'm just asking the question.
I think YouTube would be a live video, but you're right. We do have a YouTube account, and that could be added there as part of that social media
Because I know
But it would be a video they have to search and
It's
watch
a
for. It wouldn't
video,
be a
though.
live
Yeah.
scrolling. Right, Russ?
But it could show up as a featured video.
Correct.
So if we did,
COVID update
Yeah.
or something.
I'm thinking more of the press releases, the urgent recorded messages.
I
but-
understand.
Yeah, but you're all right. We have a YouTube channel,
Mhm.
Well-
and there's definitely a time that we could have a live video where we're actually reaching out and talking to the residents. No doubt about it.
And the reason why I'm asking, I just walked over in my home to Infinity, Comcast per se, and it's changed my whole life of the channel thing.
Yep.
Okay, and Hulu.
Wow.
If I can make a suggestion, and I apologize for the interruption,
Please do.
but one of the things we could do is we should probably emphasize, go to the town website, and we can make the primary page be a rolling video or be a rolling presentation of all the updates. So if they go there, they'll always have the latest video always available to them.
Thank you, John.
It's a great idea.
Just for the residents to know, that was John Brunell, our IT director. Thanks, John.
I think it's important that we all understand who the emergency management team is. So the emergency management team shall consist of the emergency management director, chairman and vice chairman of the board of selectmen, police chief, town administrator, health officer, IT director, road agent / highway manager, finance director, assistant TA, the town clerk, tax collector, director of solid waste and recycling, school superintendent, school business administrator, librarian, and a designated Litchfield Community Television representative. So they've reached out to us, and I think some of our first communication efforts have expressed that, they are another avenue to communicate with our residents. So
And when we created the last local emergency operation plan that just got put into effect, it's the same group of people here.
Yeah.
That were part of that.
Yep. So that's our team. So when you hear us say, hey, we had our emergency management team meeting, those are the folks that are included in those discussions. And as of right now, the emergency management team has made a decision to meet on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday every week at 2:00. So
Via a conference call.
We do conference calling. Everyone conference calls in, and we're finding that it's working out to be extremely important tool. We're all on this right now. We really haven't miscommunicated. It's keeping us all informed. The bridging the school department with the town. We've really learned a lot. Both sides have learned a lot because both are kind of doing their own thing. But by meeting 3 times a week, we're all on the same page, and that's our goal.
And the reason we picked that cadence is the emergency management director's on with Homeland Security at noontime those days. So after he gets off that call, he pulls the whole group together.
If you watch Channel 9 at the same time, those 3 days, the same thing comes up right before it.
Could we be copied on that so we could be a fly on the wall for those?
Yeah, I think
Well, the issue we have
there's-
is if we have 3 selectmen, then it's a public meeting. It has to be open to everyone.
Oh,
that was kind of, yeah.
that's a problem.
Why would it be a problem? Because it's not a board of selectmen's meeting.
It starts to become
It's just a technical issue.
there's some decision, there's discussions and decisions being made. So
Oh, I see.
the fire station and emergency operations center shall remain closed to the general public until further notice. The police department and dispatching lobby area shall remain closed to the public until further notice. The Aaron Cutler Library shall remain closed until further notice. The town offices shall remain closed to the public, but will operate as a virtual town hall. Transactions can be done online or arranged via phone or email. Questions can and will be answered via phone and email. In special situations, an appointment in town hall with appropriate town personnel can be scheduled. Town hall employees will be working both remotely and on site in very limited numbers as necessary, but still available to perform their essential job responsibilities. That, as far of the feedback that we're receiving right now, is working. I ask the staff on a daily basis, how's it going? And everyone, the citizens are just, are really doing a fantastic job. They fully understand the situation we're in. They're very cooperative. So I think that's, it's going really well. It's all new for us, just like it is for the school teachers trying to do remote learning. So all recreation facilities shall be closed to the general public for organized and group activities. This includes Roy Memorial Park, Brickyard Park, Brook Road Park, Jeff Lane Park, and Sawmill Park. Users are reminded to follow social distancing measures as recommended by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. So as of right now, it's the school department has closed their facilities for group gatherings, and we had a discussion about trying to define that. I know that there's guidance that's been out there, starting to state numbers, a gathering of 10 or more, in some cases 50 or more. We decided that we would still, at this point in time, keep it as a general comment. The police department will be watching our facilities. If they see gatherings, they'll approach those groups and just ask them to,
I believe
disperse
the governor today moved it to groups of
to
10.
10.
Yes, he did.
So it has come down.
So we could have met there tonight.
The Albuquerque bike, and I put this in here because I've had some feedback from people just asking questions whether we're going to close the Albuquerque bike path or not. As of right now, there are no plans to close the bike path. People are using it. It's actually being recommended that people try to get outside, exercise, get fresh air. Again, just making sure that we try to keep ourselves, 6 feet apart. And there'll be times when you're going to be passing joggers and bikers and families walking, So as of right now, that's the position, as I understand it, of the town. The solid waste recycling facilities shall expand hours of operation to help support social distancing measures as recommended by the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention. So we're going to expand our hours on Wednesday. We're going to open from noon. We'll close at 7. And on Fridays, we'll open at noon and close at 8. So we're just opening earlier on those days. The thought process here is to try to just open the facility up, take some pressure off the Saturday. Because, everyone, we're trying to create an atmosphere where, if we can spread the people out, and then, it's just, I think it's beneficial to our staff and definitely to the residents.
And they had a large increase this week, and it was almost as bad as Christmas time.
And the other side,
Trash was
is too, as you said, okay, more folks are at home.
A lot more
Okay.
basements cleaned out, garages cleaned out,
Everything's
yards
being
being
cleaned out because I've already had a list given to me. Okay. So guys, I'm glad they're doing this for my life.
This is one area that we weren't thinking about. Dave Mellon, the director, reached out to us and he expressed his concern. And as of right now, he's starting to see that. And people are home. So they're going to start spring cleaning or doing that project that they haven't done in a while. And so we depending on what goes on, we may have to revisit this as well. But right now, this was what David had recommended. So we'll do that for now.
The only suggestion I would make would be that add a sentence that Saturday hours would remain the same.
or all other hours.
All
Yeah,
all
all
others
others, yeah.
remain the same.
Because we're due to open up the brush on a Sunday, correct? That's part of the process. They used to be open up. on
Yeah,
Sunday
I
brush.
forget the date that he has
Yeah.
to open that, but
That's coming too.
it's coming soon.
Yep. And now everybody's home, brush all week.
The town, this is actually just started practicing today, where the town clerk, tax collector office hours are open Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. And that's just really to be consistent with the hours that we're having. They're not seeing really the need for the Monday evening hours. So, and they practiced that today. Continue to monitor that. Veteran and elderly applications, those exemptions and credits, and people applying for recertifications extended from April 1st to June 1st, 2020.
Excuse me, Troy, you jumped over the motor vehicle registration one.
Oh, sorry. The deadline for motor vehicle registrations on new vehicles shall be extended from February 26, 2020 to April 30th, 2020 for all temporary plates. So these,
Government.
these are governor orders as well. So we're just reinforcing them. Something Selectman Lascelles brought this up at our last meeting, and we discussed it with the emergency management team today. Actually, very well received. So we are going to move forward with creating a daily wellness check program. So safety and non-safety employees will initiate a daily wellness check program for elderly residents, residents with serious health conditions, or residents with other special needs. So we're going to work on getting notice out to the residents saying, hey, if you're aware of a neighbor that needs, that you're concerned about, maybe locked in, maybe doesn't have a lot of access to food, water, medical needs, whatever, we're going to try to collect this information through the dispatch, our dispatch employees, create a master list, and then we'll use our other non-safety employees to make daily calls. Just check in and see how, everything's going.
Telephone calls.
A telephone call. I mean, if I'm
If they
assuming
don't
everyone will
ask
have a
you on
telephone.
daily
but-
call, and if they say no, we'll take them off the list. But if they do, they're gonna check
Yeah.
daily with them. Do they
Yes.
need anything? Can somebody help you in any way?
And the other side of this too, everybody's gonna be cooped in, so things are gonna fly up here and there.
Right.
But I think we ought to add the church groups, sit down with them, if they have somebody that they want us to look at too, for wellness or something like that, I would put that on.
Yeah.
Because they got a list of people that they take care of constantly,
Oh, they do. Yeah.
okay?
That might be where we start, getting some
We'll get to
the
names.
contact info.
Correct.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go what I said today.
And then based on, again, some of the changes from the federal government on like Family Medical Leave Act issues and stuff going on, the last time we met, we were very specific on the number of hours when we were talking about having our employees stay at home with base pay, whether they traveled internationally or within state. So right now we're suggesting that we use very generic language to allow our supervisors to make determination as to who, should stay at home and who can come into work. So this statement, employees who are sent home by their supervisor due to changes in work operations or because their health status may put other employees at risk due to COVID-19 shall be paid their regular base wage without using their earned or sick leave. So that's kind of our policy right now. I know Chairman Weber has reached out to the school department. Hopefully we're going to have a meeting this week to talk about the ongoing compensation of town and school employees.
I think it's very important that as leaders for the school and the town, that we're all in lockstep with one another and that we're all treating all types of issues, facilities closure, payment of employees and so forth in the same way.
Only thing I would recommend is just put on the end of it until further notice or something to that effect.
Yeah, I agree with Rich on that because these are things that we went to schools. I mean, the playgrounds get A, B, C, all the way down the list. If you could put a number with that, with a date, and then we're going to modify it to 2, we know what that date change is going to be. So it's like a miracle order. I see what you've done, Troy. This is fantastic. Maybe A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. I don't know.
Yeah, because we know that
Yeah.
this is going to change.
Oh,
Yes.
time.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
And as we get closer to the coming out of this issue, we're going to have to cycle back,
Mhm.
Get back to reality.
Yep.
I can't
Probably
wait.
just have to start redlining.
No, I think you're right. I think at the end of each one of these bullets, you put approved 3/23/20 in parentheses. And then if we amend it, we keep that date.
Yep.
And we
Keep that
say,
date
so you
for this
keep the
one?
approved date, but you just put amended the other date.
And to keep the old.
That way people can go back in the minutes and they can see stuff.
You got it. At least that's how the building codes are done.
Is this going to be on the town website also?
Yes.
Important contacts, you got that in place already.
And then when I was reading the recreation, I will add in there specifically that we've closed the tennis courts and the
Play structures.
Talon Hall and play structures. The basketball court's not officially closed. However, the statement of organized group activities would prevent a pickup game of, it's just very difficult,
12.
to.
5-on-5,
But if it's
2
a-
subs.
If it's a,
A
I
team
don't
of
know.
five.
This is one of those tough things. If it's a father and son or daughter out there playing a little basketball,
I mean, that's no problem.
you know, why can't they be allowed to do that? But depending on how things start to go, this board may decide we don't even want that anymore.
I have seen on Facebook where people have been complaining about teenage boys playing basketball.
Yes.
Because it's a contact sport and it's kind of hard to keep your distance, you know. And I even saw that on one of the news conferences the other. Oh, it was Cuomo. Cuomo the other day said, if you were playing basketball and you were maintaining social distances, you'd be sure to lose.
Yeah. Well, you're sharing the basketball too.
That's true. That's true.
Passing this ball. So.
But I think we can use common sense.
So I think that's the thing right now, where we're at right now. I don't think we're there. I don't know where we're going to
The
be
other
middle of April. I'm not sure.
Hand out some latex gloves to the kids playing basketball.
It's not that they're running into each other, breathing,
Yeah.
coughing on each other, right? I mean,
Sweat.
you're not going to stop it, but
What are you doing to get home?
they're going to bring it home to mommy and daddy. They're not going to be happy.
So I think you could actually.
Then your last page is just important.
Oh, and
contacts.
the last page is all the contact info that we had at the last press release. So I think the board, you know, I'd recommend that you make a motion to adopt Order 2020-1 as amended,
So
and I'll use that date.
I'll second it.
So we have a motion by Mr. LaSalle, second by Mr. Pinciero. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstained? Motion carries 5-0-0.
This is good. This is good, Troy.
Thank
Good
you.
job, Troy.
Good comments too. Real good feedback. That's so important as we start heading into this, our emergency management meetings and, you know, these meetings here in this document. It just, anything we can do to prevent miscommunication is key.
All I can say, Troy, I can say this, my 40 years of being a building official and in emergency management, all those years, this is the first time it's got this precedent.
Mm.
Okay, this is the first. So,
Well, they're quick. We've gone through the floods. We've gone through ice storms,
but that's,
the Mother Day floods. So guess what? 5 days later, the water's gone, and
Correct.
and now we're dealing with
it's a
trying
5-day cycle, we're done.
Yeah,
Now we're talking a month, 2 months. That's a whole different world.
Yeah, I think you're looking at more than 2 months.
I'm
So
being
what I saw
positive, Jack.
today.
I'm trying to be positive.
And an ice storm when you lost your power statewide. So everyone's like, okay, we're out of
Week
power.
and
We
you're
know
out
what
of
to
it.
do.
Yeah.
Survival. And they're predicting that, hey, we're going to start bringing parts of the state up. You know, in a week, we'll have half the customers up.
You know where you are.
You kind
This
of
is
know
the
where
fear
you're
of
going.
the unknown.
We don't know where we're going. And
I mean, I can go and get the generator. My house lights right up. I mean, there's nothing I can do about this other than wash my hands and stay away from people. What else are you
The
gonna
high
do?
school had a course called a science course about natural disasters. And I happened to be subbing one day and we had a discussion concerning what sort of natural disasters could we have here in Litchfield. And I said, well, if you think about it, we're in a pretty safe space here. You know, we don't really have earthquakes. Occasionally we do, but not big. Tsunamis, hurricanes, just very minimal risk. The biggest natural disaster that I've ever seen here is ice storms, because it could lay out for a week, and that's a big deal. But I mean, this is
That last
This
ice
is so
storm, we
small, you
took a
can't
month
see it
to-
as causing this.
what's
So
that?
This is not like a flood, tornado,
This is
tsunami.
personal now.
We're dealing with something smaller
personal.
than, you can't see it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And we're trying to find it. And then we find out what we're trying to do with it.
You don't want to find it.
I think everybody is going to be talking about this
For
for the rest of their lives. Where were you when this virus hit? And it impacts everyone. Some people less than others. I think we're kind of fortunate being here. certainly out in Wyoming or something,
Hmm.
But you do notice that there's been people in Alaska who've contracted this. So nobody's immune.
It's not subject to cold air. That's one thing. They're getting it.
So the next item we have is Board of Selectmen appointments. As the new cycle starts every year on a board, we have to appoint committee members to different committees throughout the town. So the first one we have is the Budget Committee. Mr. Leary was on that last cycle. Bob, would you like to continue?
Yeah, actually, I would, I think,
All right, so we'll sign
if no one has an issue.
everyone. So we'll sign Mr. Leary to Budget Committee. Mr. Lynch, you had Planning Board last time.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Happy with that?
Yeah,
Members good?
just can't get a meeting for what I gotta do.
So next we have the Recreation Commission. If there's no objection, I personally would like to take that, being the president of Litchfield Baseball and sitting on
Yep.
the board of directors for Litchfield Softball. Everybody good?
Fine with me.
Conservation Commission, I think Mr.
I'd take
Pizziero
that.
said he'd like to do that. Okay. And with that, Mr. Lascelles, would you take the Heritage Commission, please?
I would, as I messaged, I'm an old fellow, so I think I fit right in.
It's fitting, Rich.
I assume has to do with the Historical Society.
Basically, it's the
Yeah,
same
same
thing.
thing, yeah.
Okay, same group.
So Troy, if you could let all the chairs of those departments know, and
Yeah.
we can get the cadence of meetings to each member.
I have one question, not to pick on any, but Troy Brown, zoning administrator, my understanding that was supposed to go to the new building inspector? Or is he still in training? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I expire come
You
the end of
expired.
this month.
Don't use
My
that term.
appointment expires.
Okay.
So I put this on there with again, not doing no three-year appointment. I can resign at any time.
I realize that.
In other words, if you appointed me this evening, just to keep it in place, and then if I reach out to Peter and Frank, talk to them,
Well,
make sure we're good with the transition.
His job description says zoning and health, okay? So I'm trying to get him to do what he's supposed to do according to his job description.
Mhm.
That's all I'm saying, okay?
Yeah, I don't know if it says the zoning in it, because we took that
You
apart.
took that apart
Yeah.
so you get part-timers. I know that.
Yeah.
You get through, but I thought it did. So I'm just questioning it. I'm not gonna get into a fight over it.
Well,
Just
you
questioning
could appoint me for till April 30th, and just
I
to buy
was-
us time for our
until
next
our
meeting. I
yeah,
don't-
to see what the,
Temporarily until we find out what's going on.
Yeah.
I make a motion that we appoint Mr. Brown
Yep.
as the
I'm just
Is the
bringing it up.
interim
so
zoning-
it's fine.
zoning administrator till
We figure out what we're gonna do with the other. thing.
April 30th. And he can come back in and we can do it again if have to.
okay, so we have a
All right.
motion by Mr. Pinciero,
Second.
second by Mr. Leary. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstain? Motion carries 500.
Troy, just to get you out the hook.
We also have,
Stuck with it.
as of March 31st of this year, we have a road agent that is going to be up, so we need to appoint a new road agent.
I'd like to speak to that. I think that we should possibly take a look at what is out there for a professional road agent. We've had road agents, the last 3 or 4, had serious problems. Not because they were lazy or whatever, but they just weren't suited for the job. They didn't have the background for it. Fortunately, I had my lifetime in the road construction business. I don't want anyone to take it that this is a vendetta or anything foolishness. It's just, I feel, and we may end up doing as we're being asked,
Mhm.
but I think we should go out and look and see what's out there, post it, see if we get any response to it. It has nothing to do with the operation of the highway department at this point. It's to put a road agent in place that will be able to control the department.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Let me ask you this. With respect to the road agent, do we have a job description for that position?
Yeah, it's not, we have one. We do have a job description and,
Do we evaluate the performance of the road agent?
well, we do, yeah. I've done the reviews, when Jack was the road agent, we did the reviews because we just started doing performance review. Kevin would have taken, because, the resignation happened in June. Kevin took the role on I think June 1st. So he would have, when we did our annual reviews, we're on it for 30 days. So
It's in that position, as in other positions, you hate for someone's performance to be evaluated on Facebook, and I, for one, would like to have an objective performance evaluation of all employees, that shows their duties and what their evaluation is. And I think we owe it to those folks so that if their performance needs to be improved, we tell them how we want them to,
We do that
to be
now.
improved. Okay.
That's how that
So,
performance works.
so I just like, for the next meeting, I'd just like to see what those are, and of course, as a part of the posting, if we go ahead and post this, we're going to have to come up with that anyway,
So we do have all that information.
you have it. I think what's important to understand is that it's always been my understanding that the road agent, the way we have been proceeding forward, is a title where someone receives a stipend for that title. So I think it's $1,000 a year to be the road agent. We also have a highway manager, which we always refer to the road agent. You have that title, road agent, just like our health officer, receives $1,000 stipend to be the health officer. But that same person is a full-time deputy fire chief. So the job itself is the current way, the way it's made up right now is we have a full-time highway manager.
We assume
Highway manager, and we have a title as road agent. And I'm assuming that that's done because maybe the Board of Selectmen could hold the title as road agent too. I'm not sure. Someone needs to have that title as road agent, as I understand.
What, no,
No,
we
No,
tried
it couldn't be
that.
the selectmen.
Warren,
The selectmen
no,
are the
just
ones
the
that.
Warren.
Roland
Warren
retired,
article.
we had tried that.
Yeah.
That's when there was a warrant article,
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah,
Yes.
so it's not even legal.
Yeah.
but we assume that the road agent and the highway manager is the same person.
AKA.
At
correct.
this point.
At this point,
wasn't
It's
always.
it's referred to one of the self. Yeah.
Now, when we appointed Mr. Brown to be the road agent to fill out the rest of Jack's term, we also appointed him to be the interim highway manager, correct?
So it was my understanding that we appointed him on an interim basis for a 12-month period as road agent and highway manager.
Okay, so all of it's coming up then.
Yeah.
We haven't made that a permanent decision yet. Okay.
So we,
And not anything against him or anything, but he came on about 6 months before taking this position on. So I can understand Jack's position that we need to look for a professional. I would probably support that. I don't know what everybody else feels, but I would go along with what he says because it's a very important position and decide what we need to do there. Because Kevin was brought on as a truck driver, if I'm not mistaken, a plow driver for the
Then a
winter. For the
mechanic, then they moved it to a mechanic,
Okay,
I think.
yeah, so that we can kind of clear the water there.
So,
And-
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. No, I'm done.
Where it says term expires March 31st, is that correct there? I
Yes.
mean,
So he was, yeah.
It expires March 31st, 2020 this year. So even if the will of the board is to go off and search, we still are going to have to appoint an interim
Mhm.
road agent
Mhm.
to a certain date we have to pick to give us enough time, because effective, let's say 23rd,
week.
7 days, 8 days from now.
I have
The
no
appointment
problem
is what?
doing that. I agree. I just think that we should see what's out there. I mean, there may be somebody that has a lot more background in roads. It's a very important position.
I mean, my statement I will make, I think the department has been running very well over the last few months under his leadership. But if the will of the board is you want to go out and look for or see what's out there,
Yeah,
well, that's something we
I
as a
would say
board
too that before you make that decision, because one, I would encourage everyone to take a look at the MRI report again, because in the MRI report, there's that discussion about if we're going to go for this professional position, are you going to go for a general services director or a public works director?
Yeah, but I think we need to have more discussion around that. On where are we going? Are we going towards a Department of Public Works? If
Well, it
we
sure
are,
looks that way with the
okay,
help
so
we're
if we're
hiring.
doing that, so then we really need to look at, okay, what type of leadership position do we need in there? Instead of just looking at the word road agent. I mean, do we want to look at going there? Okay, now if solid waste goes under that and so forth, do we want somebody who's more of a department head, managing people and so forth?
I like to extend his term a little longer until we sit down and decide how we like to go. I'm not one to say, let's go out and get somebody new opinions right now. I think we got to do is look at what's been going on for the last year, evaluate last few months, so we said, evaluate that as well. Look at the MRI report. We also got to look at the long term here. We put one article out to hire somebody full time. It didn't fail by much. One of the things that I'm a firm believer in, of all the departments that we have one that's here 5 days a week, all year long, night and day in some cases, this crew. I think a town has to look at getting that crew. When you got two people out doing something, you need a third person to do something else. Okay? You need that 3 people minimum full time. Okay? Because you never want to send one guy out with a saw. Okay? Because you may go back and find him laying there with a saw. Okay? Or, it's the old saying, you always see 2 guys beside the road holding the shovel. There's a reason for that. It's liability and safety. I think we ought to look at Kevin's term right now and look at it and say, let's not jump on expiring it right now. Let's not jump on changing it right now. Let's look at what we want as a board for long term. Okay? And I'm not speaking that Kevin's got it or anything like that, but I think that as a town's point of view, I think we got to look at the whole picture. Okay? Not to jump into things the way I've seen happen in the past. Okay? We got to look at the big picture of this whole thing. Jack's got a point. There are other folks out there that may be able to take that. But will it meet what we really want? Do we want a working highway agent or we want a suit? I don't want a suit. Okay?
I have working.
I know you would, Jack. Okay.
No, I'm saying that's
I know.
what
I know.
I figure it, but I think you can find,
I understand.
there's certifications out there that we don't even have. We have culvert certification, we have road certification. There's so many different types of things, stormwater, all those things. And Kevin does a decent job. The problem is he doesn't have the background that some of these other people may have.
Especially if we're going to move more towards a
Right.
Department of Public
Mr.
Works or
Chair,
something.
we probably
You can't speak
I
about
think-
an employee
I think,
himself.
we shouldn't be talking about.
Correct.
No, I
employees.
agree.
I
So-
think that we need to, if we want to have a further discussion on and review the MR report, where we want to go and so forth, my recommendation was we extend his
I think that's a
It's
great
term.
idea.
to a certain date so we can get on board and find out, what parts of the MRI, if any, and what do we want to do with the departments as a whole.
Let's go to 6 months. How's that?
So that would put him out to September 30th. Yep, September.
I make a motion that we appoint for 6 more months.
We have a motion by Mr. Pinciero,
Second?
second by Mr. Larry. Any further discussion?
I'd like to add something to this in relation to what's going on around us right now. We may not be able to do what we can with 6 months with what we're dealing with. If the corona thing affects the operation, is what I'm saying.
Well, we'll
So-
revisit it in
We can
6
revisit
I'm
months.
just bringing it up. That's all I'm doing, guys. Okay? Thank you.
Any other comments?
I'd like to add to that. I would like to direct the town administrator to contact New Hampshire Regional Planning. I mean, is it NRA?
New Hampshire
NRPC.
Municipal Association?
Municipal Association. That's who we've gotten in the past when we wanted to get a police chief or whatever. And
Or you mean to advertise or MRI?
to advertise. Yeah, to advertise. And that's how we got police chiefs to come in and other people that we've hired.
Yeah, we'll
before.
have to have,
More discussion on that one. I believe. I know what you're
Yeah.
saying.
this is all kind of
New.
surprise to me this
Yeah, I'm
evening,
sure it
actually.
is. I'm sure it is.
And there's been a lot said. I don't think, I think the extension obviously is important, but I think we're going to have a discussion about this. There's a lot to be discussed. You start advertising, you need to know what it is, the job expectations. You
Oh, I
talk about
agree.
certifications,
totally
level of
And that's why I think as
education.
a board, we need to really.
You
come down
got
to what
residency,
direction.
you could put an ad out there and have someone from Portsmouth apply and be totally qualified for the job.
Yep. So we have to-
But if you don't have a residency requirement or certain
Mhm.
mile radius, then you've got yourself a highway foreman that's going to be commuting for snowstorms from
Mhm.
Portsmouth. So
That's true.
there's a lot of thought that needs to be put into
to it, so.
anything before you go to recruitment.
I like to have the
And-
person get to the call.
And I would like to hope that this board would take time to even meet in non-public session with the current road agent to have a conversation with him as part of your whole decision making too.
Okay.
Right? I mean, I think there's time to collect a lot of information and take small steps so that when you make that final decision,
Well, that's why we're extending it 6 months.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that we have the opportunity to
Right.
evaluate the present one
Right.
and possibly talk to someone else. I mean, I don't see where that's an issue. We've always
no,
done
I-
it in the past.
No,
I'm just saying, I don't think between now and your next meeting, I can't
Oh,
go
no,
put an ad.
no,
in the
no,
newspaper.
No, I just wanted it in there that
I think we have a lot of discussion to have on the future
Oh,
of
God,
what we want.
It's going to take
To
a
look
lot,
like.
a lot of corona to get this done.
Okay, so we had a motion, we had a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? All those abstained? Motion carries 5-0-0. Next item on the agenda is committee appointments. Mr. Brown.
All right, so this is the time of the year when we have committee members up for reappointment. And
Expiration dates.
everyone obviously expired March 31st, 2020. So all of these are reappointments to serve on the boards and committees that they're currently serving on.
Okay.
Eric Cushing, a ZBA alternate. Michael Croto on the planning board. Kate Stevens, planning board member. Peter Ames, Recreation Commission. George Gannon, Recreation Commission. Joan McKibben, Conservation Commission. Thomas Levesque, Conservation Commission. Mike Croto, Conservation.
Yep.
It's a lot of conservation, huh? One, two,
Yeah, they're all
Yeah,
coming
for
up at
whatever
once.
reason.
all at once.
Yeah, they all have expiration dates. They come in the same age.
Harry Manzingian, Conservation Commission, and John Curtin, Conservation.
Okay, do we have a motion to
I'll make a
accept all?
motion to accept it as written by the administrator.
We have a motion by Mr. Pinciero, second by Mr. LaSalle's. Any further discussion?
I'm slow.
Was there anybody else that wanted to serve on these committees that we should consider? Or is this just the people that were on it?
Everyone that,
These want to
you
re-up.
know what, the
Yeah, the re-up.
people that have come in have been pretty much put on those alternates.
yeah.
The new
The new ones?
people of
Yeah,
interest.
so these are just ones that have been there for a while. Like Michael Croto, as you know, has been on planning board forever. Kate Stevens has been at least 2 years.
Mhm.
Peter Ames has been on rec for a while. Steve Gannon got on, I think, a year ago.
Joan's been a story.
Joan's been forever. Tom's been there a long time. Mike Croto has.
Tom Levesque's been on since the beginning of time.
Yeah. Well, okay.
There's only one senior on that one. Should be two seniors.
So we had a motion, a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstained? Motion carries 5-0-0.
Levesque cut Chief Pastor Conaway's hair.
Yeah, but he had to, because they had him trapped.
The next item is the Warm Zone Grant, $6,000. Mr. Brown.
All right. So the police department recently, Captain Scotty applied for this grant. It's through the Department of Homeland Security. It's called Warm Zone. And basically what that is, you have when you're applying, responding to an incident, you have the hot zone. And then your next outside layer of that is the warm zone. And then your next layer is the cold zone. So the warm zone, because I didn't know this. This is what I'm like, what are you talking about, warm zone?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And there's a certain types of equipment that are eligible to be purchased for that warm zone area, which basically is protective gear, helmets, vest, and that kind of stuff. So
I think we've gotten this before.
yeah, it's a
Is there a
good
cold zone?
grant. So those the
Yes,
code would
it's
be
I'd like to make a motion that the Litchfield Police Department move forward with the $6,000 grant from Homeland Security, for the purchase of tactical gear and medical supplies.
I'll second it.
So we have a motion by Mr. Pinciero, second by Mr. LaSalle. Any further discussion?
Great job by the police department.
Yes.
Getting this.
Congratulations to
Yeah, can
Captain
we make
Scotty
a
for his work.
thank you to him?
Nice work, guys.
Thank you, Ben.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstained? Motion carries 5-0-0. Next is the Police Station Town Hall HVAC improvements. Mr. Brown.
All right, so at the end of last year, 2019, the Board of Selectmen encumbered $50,000 to begin work replacing our heating and cooling system here at the Town Hall and Police Station. So on the police side of the building, we have 2 units, and we have another unit that controls this room, the lobby area, the 2 public restrooms. The dispatch is controlled by its own, what do they call those? Ductless system. The ductless
You're getting
system.
better at this.
Yeah,
The split systems, yeah.
There's 5
And
units
so
in
we'll
this
be
building.
changing this equipment's over 20 years old. When it fails, it's going to fail without
You
notice,
saw it
probably
coming.
4th of July.
We're going to put it in the ceiling again?
So yeah, they would actually go up in the ceiling, remove the equipment
Existing
that's there,
units.
put a new one in, and out on the cement pads outside the condenser.
Don't go
units.
there, Jack.
This
Don't
will
go there,
leave
Jack.
you. This will leave you if when this is the estimated cost $53,000, and that will leave us with 3 units left on the town office side.
Right.
So I obviously chose public safety to go first, making sure that they stay up and running, and we'll have to figure out how we finish the project for the town hall side. Either it's being discussed, I think, at CIP right
Yes.
now.
Yeah,
So-
that's it. See, you got 5 units in this building plus a torpedo. Okay, you got 2 on that side. The HVAC that handles this comes from all the way down there with the other 2 units here, zone A and B. Police has got 2 up there, and that take care of their whole side. Their 2 units, the outside condensers are good. They've been replaced
Mhm.
in the last 5 years.
Right.
What it is actually the units upstairs are starting to corrode out. I'll tell that because I've seen it happen here. Same thing on the other side is one is worse than the other, but that's the worst side. The Sally Port is your worst condition because of that vent pipe. It's just a design criteria when you go with, today we're going to go with plastic. The old way they did it with metal.
Mhm.
So it corroded and created some dripping to the joints. The new one they'll put in will be plastic vent.
Yeah,
You
the
won't have
PVC
half the
pipe.
problems you're going to have today.
Is this gone to bid already?
Well, this is the thing. What I'm asking the board this evening is we have a company that we've done business with. The owners live in the town, Affiliated Services, and they're available to respond to us 24/7. They've
They're
been
on the call.
very good to the town. With everything I went through last year trying to get work done at Talon Hall, I reached out to Affiliated, and last year they had some issues with, they just had some issues and couldn't respond to the town hall project. But, this year they're prepared to do it. If we were to go out to bid, then you're in a situation where we would probably have to, my guess is hire mechanical engineer to put together the bid specs and put it out to bid so that it would be a fair, open process. I've gone to Affiliated. They're, again, the two owners are Litchfield taxpayers. They make sure I'm aware of that every time they talk to me. And they put together a project here where the units are not, they're 96% efficient. So they're actually, he said they're really high-end units, not selling us, just mediocre type stuff. And they're in a situation right now where they can start this work and get it going.
I want to speak for Affiliated a little bit. I've used them all the years I was in charge of the buildings here. And before that, we used them. The units we're having up there, I'm going to back up Troy in this. It's just no different than your residential home. Okay. Over a period of time, they all, gas units have a lot of moisture in it. So this is what's going on. Your combustion chambers are starting to fail. So it's just a matter of replacing the units upstairs in the vent pipe because they'll all go to plastic now instead of the metal we got going through. But it would just be that kind of thing. It's very simple.
You got the refrigerant that these units are no longer serviceable
You can't
because
take it
it's
with
the
the
old refrigerant.
Yep.
So if the air conditioner goes in the police department, anywhere, we're,
You got that issue
we
today.
can't get the refrigerant. We can't replace the condens,
If
So
you
we're in a real tough spot right now. And
I say go with them. That's my opinion.
I don't think you're going to get a better price with a commitment of getting this stuff installed.
If you could just bear with me for
Yeah.
a moment, because I'm the new guy on the block.
Yeah,
here,
I know.
But you talk about section 9 and 10 of the purchasing policy. Would this, with what we're doing here in the amount of 53,000 with preferred vendor, is that in accordance with? The
Yeah.
purchasing
So those two,
policy?
I don't, section 9 and section 10, I may get them backwards. But one, there is a section where we talk about the local advantage so that, we do have a little provision in there. It says
Yep.
if we can keep it local, we will. The company is in Hudson or Nashua, but the owners of the company live here in town.
They're renting.
They're actually just down the street here. And then section 10 is where the selectmen have the discretion of waiving the purchasing policy, the competitive bidding process.
Could you just copy me on that?
Yeah.
I have a real, just a personal situation, has nothing to do with this particular instance,
Yeah.
but with respect to purchasing and going out for bids and so forth. So that's something that kind of sticks in my craw a little bit. So if you could copy me on that, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. And that will be, the purchasing policy is a policy that we review on an annual basis too.
You're going to love reading that, Rich.
No, I just,
We did the majority of the policies last year
Yeah.
in procedures and went through them all.
as a general rule,
I understand where you're coming
I
from.
think anytime the town pays for something or the town gets paid, it's very easy in a small town for there to be favoritism
I
and
understand.
nepotism and conflicts of interest. And that's something that's kind of rubs me the wrong way. So, I don't have any problem at all with local.
Make a motion, we table this until he has an opportunity to read that.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion by Mr. Pinciero, second by Mr. Lynch. Any discussion?
Bring it up at the next meeting.
Put it on the next agenda.
I'll amend it
Have
to
a
that.
folder somewhere or something, or
Yeah, it's on our website.
oh, it is.
If you go right to the,
Okay.
Purchasing
procedures and
policy should be on our
policies.
website.
All right.
Rich, would you like a hard copy?
No,
Just asking because you're from the same area I'm from.
no. That's fine. I can
Could
get
you
it.
bring it back next week and we can
you know,
vote on it?
we'll bring it back next week, but again,
I can review
you,
it.
the only, I just want to let you know that we are very close to starting up, the cooling season.
Yep.
And it always, that's when you start to see the breakdowns and, I can go through $10,000 worth of repairs real quick and all they do is put a Band-Aid on the existing equipment.
For the benefit of the board, I wouldn't feel personally affronted if we were to go ahead with this, but then any subsequent thing that we would do a more thorough review. If the board feels that it's better, it's more prudent. And like I said, I have no personal, I think I know these guys too. And I have no personal problem with it, but I just want to make sure that we review the policy and
Being new. Rich,
See,
I understand.
the estimated time of completion on something like this. Did they give you any idea?
He didn't indicate, but it's, it sounded like this stuff can be ordered and they have time to put it in their schedule.
it's probably a
Which-
good
Make
time.
a motion to remove my motion.
Okay.
And I'll make a motion to recommend the town administrator approve the purchase order, the amount of $53,000 for the purchase of installation of the HVAC equipment for the town hall police station.
So we have a motion by Mr. Pinciero,
I'll second that.
second by Mr. Lynch. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I'll just abstain.
Okay. All those opposed? All those abstained?
Rich,
Motion carries 401.
It just makes sense to get the equipment ordered
Ordered now.
and get it in place.
the rec hall was a good experience this past year.
Mhm.
They were the ones that did that too, weren't they?
No,
No.
no, they weren't.
No, they got somebody else from somewhere else. 'Cause
Oh,
Nate's crew was tied up on a bigger job, and that required a train system. Could you put another train back in?
Yeah.
And that's
But
a
I
whole
met
different
with,
ballgame.
Oh
my God.
at
Took
least
forever.
5, 6 contractors.
It's a bigger unit.
Oh, went down there.
they're good. Affiliates.
I know.
Very
And-
good.
And I spent an hour. And some of these contractors came back a second visit to get better measurements. And then they never even submitted
A
a
bit.
proposal.
Yeah. it's
But they
crazy.
took the time to come.
Yeah.
And sometimes came back again.
It's like estimated
Sometimes they get the
driveway.
feeling that they're bidding against a local contractor and they just walk away because they can't beat them.
Due diligence.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
The next item is plow truck. Mr. Brown.
okay. So, the next conversation we're going to have is again, purchasing and then we'll talk about roads and purchasing again. So with the plow truck, I wanted the board this evening to give us the authority to proceed forward and try to secure pricing for the new plow truck with the understanding that it would be state bid price or less. And again, my fear is that if we're not able to move quickly and approach the different vendors that sell these types of trucks, we won't have a truck here come plow season.
Have they come back with a price from the state, what the state price bid is?
We know right now International has come out, Liberty International has come out with some pricing on different,
Anyone
Trucks.
talk to Ford?
but
Ford
we
usually
want to
gets
talk
it.
to Chevrolet, Ford, International.
Ford
talk to
over here 'cause
Freightliner.
We've always bought over there.
Yeah,
and
and
they always
Freightliner.
get it. Yeah.
Because Freightliner may have I understand, a new mid-sized truck. Most,
Okay.
I have a feeling that it might end up being, from what I'm hearing, Chevrolet has come out with a good, nice, middle-sized, heavy-duty truck.
Chevy's a good truck.
Yeah,
It is a
they
good
got a new
truck,
line.
So you're telling me it's a mid-size?
It's
It's a 1-ton?
medium. No, it's a medium heavy-duty truck is what we're
Okay.
looking for. So
What's that
I
mean?
hear like a Ford 650,
650?
like a 650.
That's pretty good size.
That's a good one. You still need a step ladder.
Diesel or gas? Must be gas.
I
Don't know.
I don't know.
No, you need to move forward with
And,
it.
the-
I
and
understand
well,
what
you
you're
know,
saying.
and then the plow equipment is really, we do business with Donovan
Donovan.
Equipment in Londonderry, and it doesn't make sense to buy equipment from anywhere else because we'll be going to Massachusetts or all the way up in Concord. But we can get, Donovan's extremely good to work with. They always have the parts we need, and they're able to get our equipment in and out. So,
Is this two motions?
yeah,
We need one for the truck and then we need one for the plow equipment to fit it out.
I'll recommend a motion. In accordance with the purchase section 6 of the purchasing policy, I move to authorize a purchase order for an amount not to exceed 60,000, which is at the below federal and state bid prices.
We have a motion by Mr. Pinciero.
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Lynch. Any further discussion?
No, I'm just waiting on Mr. Lascelles to get
Yeah.
You're gonna put this, you're gonna just get prices.
yeah, we're gonna go knock
Up
on
with-
doors.
Could you
Yeah.
come
I
back?
mean, the factories now with
Yeah, yeah. I
with
mean, there's a
everything
lot
that's
of
happening,
rebates
they've
now.
closed factories down, and,
Yeah.
and that's why I'm kind of like
Oh,
saying,
yeah.
you gotta
Building,
go.
building
In
mats.
fact, if we can find something on the lot is
Yeah.
with a dump body already on it,
Yep.
would be our preferred
Save
method.
some money.
And then we just gotta get the plow.
Yep.
you know.
So, Mr. Lascelles, we have a motion for a plow truck purchase and for the plow equipment purchase thus far.
Yeah, I just have the same questions about section 9 and 10 of the purchasing policy. But I think you are going out to bids. and-
Yeah, he is getting
Yes.
pricing, yeah.
We're
The
gonna
buying
get
and the state
competitive,
Pricing.
so we'll get pricing from at least 3 vendors. And again, what I'm asking the board is to honor state bid price,
Mhm.
which is, if we can get something state bid price, the purchasing policy says you don't need, competitive pricing, because it's already been bid by the state.
Yeah.
Pretty much all heavy equipment that we buy is usually state bid price, and police cruisers.
So we have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstained? Motion carries 500. Next item. Road improvements.
Did we,
So
we
we have
did
No,
do
you
the
still
plow?
got the other
Oh,
part.
I'm sorry.
You got the bottom half now.
I can make
So
that.
keep me
one.
honest, guys.
You want me
We
to
get
do
the
that
top
one?
done, then we get the
Sure.
bottom.
In accordance with Section 9 and Section 10 of the purchasing policy, I move to authorize the town administrator to approve a purchase order in the amount not to exceed $40,000 for the installation and purchase of a new plow equipment for the new plow truck.
So we
I
have a-
just want to bring up one point. The 8-foot plows that we have on the pickup trucks, you eat up every second storm, maybe third storm, you eat up the
cutting blade,
cutting
edge.
edges.
Mhm.
So at $400 a pop, for every one of those 8-foot blades,
Mhm.
you pay it. I would instruct you to possibly buy a plow that's a little heavier duty that you can put a carbide underneath it. If you can put a carbide under the cutting edge, you'll get probably the whole summer out of it, the whole winter out of it.
That brings up a question for you, Jack, from me. Do they make 8-foot carbide blades? They must, don't they?
No,
No?
they're not capable of putting on an 8-foot plow. I tried it. Doesn't work
Because the way
the way they're set,
'cause of the-
especially with the plows that double up as a V plow. They don't work on a V plow.
With this
at all.
one, yeah, because you're talking 2 4s.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Just asking.
Yeah, no, it makes, the other thing I found that the winter blade you buy from a company in Pennsylvania, you can save a ton of money. Eagle had his on for 4 or 5 years. I mean, it comes with the carbide in it, so it doesn't wear off.
So search for
Amazing.
better blade systems.
I mean, you could look into it. Maybe you can get that blade.
Mhm.
It's called Winter. Is
Winter
the name of
blade.
the company.
Yeah.
And if you could get that blade to fit those V plows, boy, you'd be golden.
Okay.
So we have a motion by Mr. Pinciero.
Just one question. Back when I was young on the farm, we had a plow, like a plow that you plow the fields with.
Yeah.
Has it blade has an edge right at the bottom,
I just,
and you could replace that.
Yep.
The mold board itself, you didn't need because that really didn't wear out.
I just,
But they called those the plow shares is
Right.
what they called them. And local blacksmiths used to they would toughen them somehow. And is that done at all?
no, that ain't done anymore. I know what you're referring
Today
to.
on the bull
Today-
plows, they put a carbide tip. You can buy 3-footers, 4-footers. I think that's all you can buy, 3 and 4s.
I know in the
Small
farm-
So
pieces.
because you get a 12-footer, you get 3-4s.
Bob and I probably know this because we've seen the change the tips on plows.
Mhm.
I did it for David. I've did it for Charlie. Used to
Yep.
change the tips all the time. It's just a hardened steel, that tip, and it lasts for a while, but you know, over time, I don't know of any way of putting heat to it to bring it back because it wears.
Yeah, the blacksmiths in the old
days.
Of course, this is old technology, but blacksmiths used to,
Heat it up.
yeah, they would temper them something, and they would last forever. You know,
Problem these plows that we have on these smaller trucks, to be honest with you, is those plows are not made to plow roads. They're made to plow parking lots and driveways and things like that, not roads. So you're running up and down these roads at 15, 20 miles an hour. It doesn't take long, 4 runs up and down on each street.
Yeah.
It doesn't take long to wear them down.
Yeah, Mr. Brown, the road agent, actually, we had discussions about that this winter, and he explained to me about how some of the plows we have are nothing more than residential models.
That's all they are.
And so he's fully aware that we're going to be buying commercial grade plows with a carbide blade, and
Good.
so that we're not buying any residential. Something that you'd buy and you do your driveway and your neighbors.
Mhm.
So we got a couple plows that are kind of like that because we lost the engine in one of the trucks, and you had to buy something on the lot, right? So got stuck, and we had to buy something last second. And that's where it costs money.
Yeah.
We have to
No,
make these.
I'm just
We
trying
have to make
bring it
these
up.
emergency purchases, and then you actually lose money in the long run. But
Yep.
okay, that's good. You got the motion?
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Larry. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstained? Motion carries 5-0-0. Next item, road improvements. Mr. Brown.
So trying to work with the road agent on our paving projects this year. We're looking at finishing the Mayflower Drive project. That, as you know, that work was done last year. We just don't have the 1.5-inch overlay applied, and we got to work on the catch basins. They're actually covered right now. So those will be adjusted and the grates will be put back in. Harvest Way and Standish Circle are 2 small cul-de-sacs. There's probably only 3 or 4 homes on each circle down there. And so we've discussed with one of the vendors here in town the best approach. They highly recommended that, we just do a 1.5-inch overlay on those 2. We're looking at reclaiming and doing a 2-inch binder on Cranberry and Campbell Drive. There's a culvert that needs to be replaced also on Campbell Drive. And Aaron Way would do reclaim and 2-inch binder. There's a section of Albuquerque Ave right around Sawmill Park, about 950 feet of work that we need to do.
They're going up.
I think that we may need to do more, but as of right now, that's what we measured out. And then there's a couple bad sections on Pinecrest and Brenton Street. So working with our local contractor, we've got some pricing here. And then, looking at about $280,000. The revenues that we have this year is the block grant at $209,000. Our road impact fees at $24,500, and we have the state aid that we encumbered from last year, and the state aid that we're going to receive this year. So last year's was $43,205, and this year's $68,205. We have about $345,000 this year for our paving projects. So looking at the scope of work that we've laid out with the revenue that we have, we've got about $60,000 of contingency there which again, I'd like to probably see more work done on Albuquerque Ave if it's possible. But that's still subject to really finalizing the actual plan.
The state aid here, is that the extra money at the end of the year?
That was that extra money that came specifically, at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And we chose to use it for roads.
Yep.
That was good funding.
Have we gotten a price from Stan's Paving?
Oh, I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were.
I'm glad
I
you're
knew
laughing.
that was it. All right, speak to Jack.
So
Saying anything.
That's a good one, Rick.
You don't get that every day.
That's a good
So
one.
we have, and this would be if the board approves, this would be the third year where we go directly to Continental Paving and really work directly with them on scope of work and pricing. And they're very, very helpful to be able to sit down with them and really try to figure out how we can spend every single dollar of our money. And I know that we're getting a very competitive price because in the past we have gone out, we've put together books this thick and done bid specs. And I'm not even sure if people even bid.
It's like throwing money away.
Yep.
Yeah,
Can
it
I
is.
ask something that, since the roads are not being used much, why aren't they paving already?
Well, I had,
It's snowing out.
I needed, we needed to have this vote before we could really.
I understand.
They've been really good to us over the years. I
Oh.
see no reason not
The
to.
locals,
been
we
fantastic.
can't go by.
Again, it's in accordance with the policy.
Yes.
Correct.
I make a motion that in accordance with section 6 of the purchasing policy, move to authorize the town administrator to approve a contract and purchase order with Continental Paving, Inc., not to exceed $426,000 for 2020 road improvement projects. Set project funds to come from Highway Block Grant, warrant Article 7, and road improvements.
We have a motion by Mr. LaSalle's,
Second?
second by Mr. Larry. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? All those abstained? Motion carries 5-0-0.
There was a warrant article for 200,000 this year. Article 7.
No, you know what? That was
Did you make a mistake?
that was last year's numbers, but I'll modify the numbers. The numbers are up above in the revenues, which are the
Yeah, they don't-
345,361.
Okay, so
You want to modify
you
your,
want to modify this then?
Have to redo
My motion did not include the numbers.
Yeah.
Case goes in.
it's okay.
I was thinking ahead, Kevin.
Good thinking on that one.
I'll
I
second that.
like you. What do you say?
Next item is the lease agreement.
We
Mr.
call a
Brown.
vote on that?
We just
We
voted.
already did.
Where was I? Okay.
Knock, knock.
All right. I asked, Kevin has gone down and spoke with the Question Farm. They're very much interested in renewing the farm lease again this year. I think this would be our third year leasing, having a formal written lease agreement. The agreement is $1,000 a year, and they provide us with the insurance certificates. The payments due on or before June 1st. They always pay it as soon as we have the agreement in place. So I recommend that we go ahead and and enter into this lease agreement again. We can only do an annual lease agreement. That's what state law, if we had a special warrant article, we could always enter into a multi-year lease
3,
agreement.
4 year, 5 year, whatever
We
you
could.
wanted to.
And it's always something to keep
You
in
need
the
a
back of your
warrant
mind.
article to do that?
Yeah.
Need a warrant article,
Put that on your agenda.
but it's something I've always wanted to put on the agenda and just kind of maybe do a 5-year lease and lock it in.
Would make sense, right?
It really does in the
Does
case
make
of
sense.
farmland.
It does, because the farmer needs to know that there's a commitment there.
Yeah,
be
then
honest
they
with
can make their plans accordingly.
Well, the other thing
It's
too,
also good for our land to be taken care of the way they take care of it. Yeah.
Yeah, they fertilize it. We don't have to do
Turn it
that.
over and everything, so it's kept well.
I'll stay
The
busy.
only problem I have with this is, again, we're talking about $1,000 for 10 acres, right? So that's $100 an acre. I have no idea what the land is worth. And I understand this is grandfathered. I mean, they've been farming the land forever. And you know, I don't have a problem with that. The problem I have with it is that, you know, that I think this is the sort of thing that if it makes sense, it should go out to bid somehow. It's the only thing, it's the only point because the town is getting $1,000 for this. Is that the right amount of money? I don't know. But is anybody else even interested? I don't know that either.
Right.
But it's money coming into the town. So I think we should, you know, do we have a policy on this sort of thing?
No.
No, when we did this initially, I had done some research that was going on in other towns that were leasing land and reached out to the Commissioner of Agriculture. And it came back that a lot of communities actually enter into a lease agreement at really no cost because the farmer is maintaining the land for them. So at the end of the day, that, you know, anywhere from $0 to $100 an acre is sort of, and I understand 100 is actually pushing it.
The only other farm that's in town presently is Wilson.
Yeah.
And he's way down the other end and more than enough property to take care of. So I would think it would make more sense to.
But if you're going to do a like we talked about, a multi-year lease, then that would be something at deliberative session and stuff. Someone's going to ask that question: have we put this out to bid? And so, if you know, maybe we should just seek proposals and see what's out there, and then bring that to a multi-year, you know, agreement.
See, this is the sort of thing that, again, it sticks in my craw that, you know, it's the town's property and the town generates revenue. Is that the right amount of revenue? Is there anybody even interested? I understand there's a local connection which carries weight, but to be consistent, I think we need a policy.
Mhm.
And if it makes more sense to have a 5-year lease or whatever, we should do that.
Something to look into.
I think, you know, you do.
Future.
You put it out there as a proposal, and you ask the farming communities for if there's an interest in some. When you do I was involved with this a little bit when I worked for the town of Hollis, and at that time we were trying to get a long-term lease on a fruit orchard. It was part of the Woodmont Orchard farm. So at that point in time, the feedback we received from the farmers in the area was that there was so much work to be done on the farm. They had to remove the trees, turn the soil again, stump it, all this. They weren't going to make that kind of investment without, and it ended up being that they wanted the 25-year lease because they were going to plant
certainly
blueberry
makes
bushes,
sense.
Christmas trees,
Definitely.
that kind of stuff. This field, you know, it's probably primarily its primary purpose is corn, and pumpkins. So
I'd like to make a motion. I move to authorize the town administrator to approve 296 Charles Bancroft Highway lease agreement in the amount of $1,000 to expire on December 31st, 2020.
I second it.
Motion by Mr. Pinciero, second by Mr. Lynch. Any further discussion?
My only thought would be that they farm all the land around it. To get somebody to come in there for 10 acres, I don't know, unless.
Long run.
Yeah, I don't know that it
It's a
would,
long
but I
ride.
mean, Mr. LaSalle makes a very valid point. Anytime we're spending money, we should go out. I don't know that in this case, it would do anything. And
Probably not.
yeah,
Probably
Yeah.
not.
As it is now.
And again, Wilson's the only other farmer and he's already stated he's got plenty of land.
He's golden.
Yeah.
As it is now, I can tell you that McQuestion will go all the way down to where Donuts Farms in the back because that's family.
Yeah.
Okay, with Dana there.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's why he goes.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's not like that's a whole different scenario. It's just to keep it plowed.
Yeah.
And he put beans out there. People like beans.
Yeah.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstain, motion carries 5-0-0.
Looks like we're at the end.
I would like to investigate some sort of further on that.
Yeah.
Okay, definitely, we can bring that up at a later date. Next item is the non-union performance review. Mr. Brown.
All right, some of the feedback I received last year, this would be a third year of doing the performance reviews. And the feedback I got last year was, as we came off the town elections, I didn't get this question before the Board of Selectmen quickly. So by the time, we get department heads doing reviews and stuff, it's May, and then we're quickly scrambling in July, right before 1st of July, trying to get all this completed and get the payroll records updated. So I put it on the agenda this evening. Again, this would be the third year performance reviews. We have a system in place where you can get anywhere from 0 to a maximum percent, and the maximum percent is set by the board. Our union contract this year is allowing 2.5%, and that's where I've come up with the 2.5%. In the past, we've been 3%, 3%, but the amount of money that we have in our budget hasn't changed. So I'm a little concerned that the $15,000 that we have allocated for these raises throughout the whole town budget, I think the 2.5% is probably a better figure this year.
Question. So was it ever budgeted?
It budgeted.
I thought it was.
We have $15,000.
Okay.
The budgeted value hasn't moved
That's-
over the
okay.
last X amount of years.
So that's been 15 for the 3 years in a row, and
No one's got a special treatment out of the old stuff, right?
And this would put us in line with the union contracts.
But the wages are not the same, are they? The wages for the union officers or whoever we're referring to
Well, this is
is different than what the wages for the town employees are.
correct.
Am I right or
the
wrong?
way the wages.
Percentage?
An hourly rate for a officer
Oh, that's a separate ballgame.
versus an hourly rate for an employee. Is it close?
They're two different factors, in my opinion, there,
Two
okay?
different job functions.
Two different job functions.
Okay, but are we being fair in a 2.5? Because they're getting 2.5 and say they're making 50,000 and the other guy's making 10?
That same question can come up with the fire department now, okay? And some of the stuff that's there now. The 2.5 for this guy who's an hourly rate, making more than,
Yeah, but they don't definitely get a 2.5% raise. It's determined by 0 to 2.5%, right?
Right.
Yeah.
correct.
So some
And
people.
I'm not
could-
saying that there's, I haven't seen someone get a 0%, because that would be that you're not performing. But someone could get, if this cap was set at 2.5%, someone could get a 2. Someone could get a 1.5. But I see it probably coming in somewhere around 2 and 2.5.
Okay, I just wondering how you determine that. I mean, we're comparing the 2.5% to the police department's union, right? Aren't we?
So the union right now in July, because these raises will all take effect July 1st.
Right.
The union contract is 2.5% on July 1st.
Yeah.
That's what they'll be receiving.
And that's based off
Then
the
do
hourly
they have,
rate.
is their evaluation the same way as ours? They-
They have an evaluation system in place, and in some cases, what we were told that they may even do them once every 6 months, depending on the situation.
So it's not a gimme that they get 2.5.
That was something we negotiated in the contract, that it was that the 2.5% was based on performance.
Performance
All right,
review.
that makes sense.
But
Yeah, and I was just
But
trying
it's-
to look up to see what the federal
but
code is
it's
going to be for
with the
2020, and
police
it's not
department,
published
it
yet.
is like it's from mine is 2.5% or or nothing. I mean, there's no
You take 2 or 2.5.
where we could do a 2% or something like that. There's 2.5. It's a pass fail.
It all depends on what the rate is. if you're getting $40 an hour compared to $22 an hour, you're always going to see the big number difference.
That's what I'm talking
That-
about.
That's it, okay? But that's the way it is no matter where you go. Okay? Not just there.
I don't know.
Your salary increases are tied to where you started in the
Correct.
company.
It's all in the deal you cut coming
always
in.
been that way.
So if you start low, then you're
Take a while to get to the top.
it does. It does.
We capped the department heads at 2%, right?
And right now, all the contracts we have
contracts
with
are 2.
employees are 2%.
2%.
All the contracts are at 2. So what's the will of the board?
Who's got the, oh, never mind.
No,
Clicker down the other end.
I don't have a problem with it. What if somebody disagrees with it? Would be my only question. Like, say somebody
The
gets a
personnel
review and
management.
they're not happy with their review or their
No.
Well, raise.
Performance reviews are not, they're not grievable.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you might hear about it,
Yeah.
but they're not grievable.
Okay.
They're not what? I'm sorry.
Grievable.
Okay.
You cannot grieve a performance review.
You don't like it. it's too
There's no doubt that you can put something in writing and let your supervisor know, or the board of selectmen, you're not happy with your review. But it's not grievable.
So all employees are given a written performance evaluation.
Right.
And they're part of that performance evaluation includes a pay raise, which is of a certain percentage
bad.
Right.
Right.
tied to that performance review.
Right.
Are we privy to those reviews?
It should be.
Should be.
I think we
Uh,
are.
I can say this, Troy.
Mhm.
I know when I got my reviewed and I disagreed with it.
Yeah.
I didn't get very far. Okay? There's no place else to go from there, what I was told. So I don't know what these people are going to do. Just because somebody doesn't like somebody else, something like that.
Mhm.
I'm just telling you, this is what happens. Okay?
Right.
It ends up being this. That may not be the job that he's doing. Maybe something else is causing that.
Yeah.
That needs to be looked at.
I think the board of
agree with you.
selectmen has privilege to
Totally.
everybody's personnel file except for police because it has so much extra in it.
That's a
background
different
info.
A
fact.
lot of confidential
Correct,
information.
and there's psychological
And
testing.
they're
and so
protected
forth.
by police
Correct.
standard and training.
But I think the
Yeah,
standard
to-
one, standard files.
Yeah, I just have to check and see.
Can we research that? Can you have that
Yeah.
researched and we can
Yeah.
get it back to us?
Find out what you can.
Is it
Thank you.
still where the department head does the evaluation for the employee? And then the department head is done by who?
Whoever they report to, I would assume.
So, yeah, so the department head, so the review is done by the supervisor.
Mhm.
And department heads are reviewed either by me or, we've had discussions with the board on my performance.
Shouldn't we, as a board, have that opportunity to evaluate our department heads? Or am I
Not a
stepping
manager.
on somebody's foot here?
Well, we've given,
Do that?
because we've given the day-to-day operations
We
to
haven't
the
done
town
it ourselves.
administrator.
This is new for us.
With department heads, it's, some of them, they have contracts where it was just, it was just a locked-in percentage increase.
How
Yeah,
many
but their
department heads do we have?
evaluation still should, if they're under contract, their evaluation should come to this board who appointed them and agreed to the contract.
Yeah, I can't say that that's been the practice for,
I
Well,
guess-
maybe it should start to be a practice. That we look at
Just
the
saying, I can't,
evaluations of the.
yeah, because some of the, we've had employment contracts where there was just, an agreed annual increase.
So
So
you
that's
don't do
fine.
an evaluation on the individuals that are under a contract. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
Why would we not do an evaluation on people in contract?
And
I mean,
It's
if
just-
we're going to renew their contract down the road,
Yeah.
wouldn't we want to know that in the previous contract that they performed to our satisfaction before we gave them another contract? Am I right?
So, yeah, it's something we can
Yeah.
We definitely
start
look at
doing
it.
now
I
and
mean,
take a look at
we
it.
started doing, what, 3 years ago?
3 years.
Is when
What
we
This
started.
would, like I said, this would be the third.
This will be the third year,
Yeah, so
yeah.
it's
What has
only-
happened over the last year, and there's no department heads, Jack. There's only three. Police, fire, okay, Troy.
Town, no.
No.
That's
Police,
Solid
fire,
waste.
town
Okay,
clerk, road agent.
Solid waste.
But the building inspector, highway, all got put under a different group. Okay, that's what happens. And there's no one, they have to report to a separate person. That's what happened to me. In your case, you were from road agent
Retired. That
to
was
maintenance.
nothing
okay.
to do with anything.
No, it
else.
doesn't. I'm just
Retired.
saying, when they got rid of the maintenance, when they took the highway department and made it they changed it by the vote. Where you were.
Was appointed.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I'm referring to. It's more of a management style, and we don't have a management, we have an administrator. We
Exactly.
don't have a manager,
That's my point.
okay? That's what I'm saying.
I agree.
Okay,
I'm
I
in
think we ought to
agreement.
look into it. What's gonna be going on, how can we review to help him review, if that's the case? We feel that he.
I had a question asked of me, and I'm going to ask you guys the same question that was asked of me. How many of you, since you've been on this board or been around, have spoken to any department head and asked them how things were going?
I have.
I have.
You have?
Yeah.
Who?
Dave
Just
Mallon.
curious.
I talked to Dave Mallon. I'll talk to Kevin Brown. I talked to Chief Sergeant. I talked to Chief.
Well, you're the chairman of the board. You
Yeah, but
should be.
Yeah, but I'm
I
just.
mean,
you
I'm
asked me
I'm
what I was
referring
talking-
to the whole board as a whole.
Yeah, I've talked to Chief Sergeant and Chief.
And I had a
Fightsoul.
person come up to me at election and ask me that question.
Mhm. That's a very good
And it's a
question.
very good question
Mhm.
of who has, in fact, talked to a department head. I'm happy to hear that you have.
I talked to all of them, probably weekly.
But after 10 years of myself, I never saw you until I saw you at elections.
Mhm.
Not once. I saw Lemire a lot, but I never saw you. And I'm not being,
He came in
argumentative.
he
I'm
came in
just
the
saying.
year before me and Bob did.
I just think that we need to have a little closer relationship with the people that we kind of govern. That's what I think.
I think to me, it's wise to have better communication among all. That's it. That's the best solution. If there's anything that needs to be fixed, it's among all.
I think every single employee needs to have a performance plan so they know what you're expecting of them.
Yep.
And the performance review then is merely an extension of that performance plan. And then you go over what's expected of them the next year. And that would go from the lowest employee to department heads to Troy. I mean, in reality, we also have a performance plan, and we get evaluated every 3 years by the voters.
That's right.
And so, they elect us to evaluate and get the most out of our employees. So each and every employee deserves that. If I was an employee, I would want that. And I think it goes both ways. And to tie it in with the raise is fine. But the more important thing is the plan itself, not the raise.
That's
It's
correct.
the plan and the review rather than just the raise.
Okay, next.
I've actually seen online in some areas where there are towns and municipalities where the working stiffs actually do a survey on their superiors.
It's called level.
It's called a
Skill level.
360 review.
Yeah.
Yep, and they also get it from
I've
their
heard that.
peers. So you get from all different
Yeah.
locations.
If you can do that without repercussions, that's fantastic. Okay?
Well, you have to
Shouldn't
do
be
it- you have to do it
repercussions
in a
of any
gentleman
part of
way.
this, Actually,
No, you have to do it anonymously.
You do it anonymously,
Yeah.
but you get.
Not, you have to do it some way,
of course.
but it needs to be done. I know in the outside world, we hear things all the time, but we just
So
can't.
as we get close to the review, I mean, we can, if we want to do a 360 review or whatever we think it is, we can implement that and move forward with it.
You got it.
So
What
the
are we
case in
looking-
point now is we're saying, do we recommend no
Yeah.
increase more than 2.5%?
Let's get back to what we
Make
talked
that
about.
motion. I recommend. I move to set the 2020 annual performance review a maximum of no more than 2.5% effective July 1st.
So we have a motion by Mr. Pinciero,
We'll second it.
second by Mr. Larry. Any further discussion?
We took the long way around the barn on this one.
No kidding.
All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? All those abstained? Motion carries 500.
Which bottom was it we went around?
Next item on the agenda is PFOA discussion. Mr. Brown.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
He must have got a lot of calls.
Further request of Bob.
Is this you, Bob?
Yeah.
Oh, you want to sit up front?
No, I can sit right here. There's been quite a bit, and I think we mentioned it at the last meeting. People that live in the Hillcrest extended area, outside of the current PFOA testing area, that there's a lot of concern about many people having cancers and having other health issues. And this one lady in particular who lives up in that area had her water tested by herself, paid for it, and Saint-Gobain refused to pay for it because she was outside the area, and hers came back substantially higher than what is the accepted level. What I'm hoping is that maybe somebody gets a hold of her because she's very concerned. She's actually undergoing her second bout with breast cancer, I believe it is. And I would mention her name, but I don't want to mention somebody's name that's, going through this stuff. But we're thinking of you. And there's been quite a bit of talk about this in that area. There's just street after street of people that have issues. I don't know where we're standing with the PFOAs.
Is that a well, Bob?
Well water, yeah.
The area in question up there, there's no public water except for one street. And it goes up into the rest of the older subdivisions. They're all well.
Yeah.
Because there's no water coming up beyond the town hall.
Yeah.
Up through.
So everything.
You
up
get to
the other
Meadowbrook,
end
right?
is,
Until you get to Meadowbrook.
Yeah.
And I think if we really investigate, we're going to find pockets throughout the whole entire town. I also know there's a huge pocket up on Pilgrim area.
Yes,
Also,
yes, yep.
where there's a lot of people who are starting to get affected by it.
I have a
We have
question.
no connection of this with cancer. There's nothing, from what I understand, and cancer has no effect. This has no effect on cancer.
I don't think they truly know. Rich, do you know anything from a state standpoint?
Well, it's a continuing discussion, and there are a number of studies being taken place, not only here, but nationally about this. And the issue is the federal standard now is lagging behind
New Hampshire.
the science and what other states have done. I think that the state standard is actually lower than the federal standard right now. So there's a move to try to get the federal standard to be lowered also. But as far as the connection to cancer, I don't think there's been any
Scientific.
definitive proof that it,
None that I know of.
but there's I think there's enough evidence, not with specific cancers, but generally that there's health issues.
The number was moved up, wasn't it? Once
So
Saint-Gobain had an issue, then the federal government moved the
they
number.
moved it up, and then what
Up.
happened was the state lowered the number.
The 12.
However, it went to court, into the Superior Court, and he voted. The judge voted
Call it a
against it.
stay
but
right now.
They were going to bring it to the Supreme Court of the state, but it hadn't been released the last we knew. I think when
It's pending,
Freeze
right?
That must be one of those
So-
class
so-
action suits.
So right now, I think it's still at 70 parts per trillion because the state set it at 12 and minimum standard.
So Troy, where are we on our whole part of it with the?
Well, I think
legal counsel that we.
Yeah,
hired.
I think it's time that we have our legal counsel come back in and meet with the new board and have a discussion about,
It'd be nice.
our steps moving forward.
It'd be nice to meet him.
Yeah.
I have a question on this, okay? There was discussion of running a water line down Route 38 to the library.
Yeah.
Because there's one case that I know of on Route 38 where, okay, where the PFO has been found at a low amount, but still there, right across from the farm.
It comes up to what, the fire station now?
It comes up to the library,
Comes up to the library now?
Yeah.
Okay.
okay? Because it goes up to Old Stage.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, and they're talking about doing that this year, I was talking, because they came by,
Yeah.
they met with all the homeowners all the way down through
What's
about,
that sign down by the dump?
they
It was-
fixed it today.
It was supposed to be done last year, I think, right?
Correct,
It
and things got shuffled
hung up
around.
in some kind of
Weather.
PUC regulations or something. Yeah.
The other side is going on, I think Rich is gonna go, until the state and the federal government can get together as to what is good and bad, or what has been proven good and bad, there's a gray area here. Okay, there's a fine gray area. As when I worked on the PFOA things here, that was the whole thing. Came in at 70, we were way up at the north end. They came in and did everything up there. But now if it goes any low, like the 12, like the state has done, but we have nothing in, we haven't come to that, what is the level we're gonna use? I know our DES person is now enjoying life. Okay, and we got a new person we have to deal with. at
He's
the
not
state.
gone yet, is he?
No, but he's definitely
very close.
He's May
Well, that's a big
May
loss.
this year. He's retiring.
Big
so-
loss for
A
that
big loss.
department.
I know we have two representatives, at least two from the town.
Yep.
Who are involved in this study, Ralph Bohm and
Yeah, Nikki.
1840.
Nikki Fordy.
Mhm.
Is there anybody else? But
Just those
Those
are
two.
the two I'm
Those are the
aware
two.
of.
I haven't heard recently whether that committee has met or not, but
Is there any way that we could, in order to, I know Bob has received this privately per se,
I
right?
think we should have
Bob?
legal come back in and talk to
Okay,
us.
yeah, I think they should. And we should look at what we gotta do or what they're trying to do.
Well,
Okay?
I asked for this because the lady had said
Okay.
something to my wife, actually. And
Okay.
I
Oh,
think
you
Troy's
got
got
it.
a good idea to
Yeah.
have them come in, have our attorney come in and
And
tell
give
us
you
where
guys
we
a-
are with this whole
Right.
thing. I
Yep.
mean,
Mhm.
we know where we should be.
I know my well has been tested and I don't have nothing. Okay? And if I pie into town water,
crazy.
I don't want that bill,
No, neither did I, but
Okay.
we all got it.
you know?
Just for the water testing, it's very expensive.
We just keep getting more and
And
more
there's-
hydrants.
Yeah, and there's and when
Less and less trucks though.
when the
Yeah, right.
when the assistant commissioner Friese came in and approached this board
Yeah,
2 months ago,
he was,
we have not only Rocky Hill, Hillcrest area that
It's
we was
over
talking
there,
about.
yeah.
So there's another area
Yep.
of concern down Mayflower and Pilgrim,
Right.
and that's sort of a mixed. I don't know, but they're investigating the Hudson landfill, and then of course,
are they
There's
investigating
nine
this?
well, remember what they said was that they've asked, because the Hudson landfill has a groundwater management zone and they have a permit.
Yeah.
So they've asked for additional studies to be done.
When he was there
Part of
last,
that
they don't
permit.
have the data thus
Is
far.
Hudson being asked to do it?
Hudson,
Yes.
it's the town of Hudson
I
because of
thought-
their
does-
landfill.
Do they have a landfill? Or
Must be a
because
cap.
they have a
It's capped.
It's an old
ton
land,
of-
old
an
landfill.
old one,
I
yeah.
think,
It's an old
right?
one.
It's capped.
It's an old one.
Old
It's
one
not
is capped,
used-
yeah.
They don't use it now
No.
No.
because they have a ton of dumpsters where
Yeah.
all the garbage goes into those
Right.
dumpsters.
So I think as part of the closure of that landfill, they probably have monitoring wells
There are
around.
Yeah,
There
I've
is.
seen them.
and there must be something of
They have a map
concern.
of the whole
Because
thing.
the individual Clark had with him was the project manager for that.
Right.
There is a
That
plan, there is a plan showing all the wells are related to that all the way around it. They're coming up close to the Coed Swamp and all that whole area. Up in the back, the Mayflower area, there was even a
I would
past
hope that
selectman
you
had a
try to do
concern.
that meeting with the attorneys as soon as possible.
Mhm.
Because this situation with this lady having an issue and other people in the
Yep.
community having an issue, we need to address this now
It's a huge
and
issue.
not allow it to
Yep.
fester any more than it has.
We have to look into it. We'll go
So if
totally
you can get
consent.
them on docket sometime,
Sure.
Troy, that'd be great.
Perhaps at some point, we need to have a public hearing. and
DES
invite
involved?
members of the public come in.
That's a
With
great
the
idea.
DES too.
Yes,
We've done that in the past at the high school.
yes,
Yeah,
They have
the
to-
auditorium, yeah.
That we,
but that was strictly St.
Updating.
Cobain.
yeah, St. Cobain and updating, that was it.
Then there was some joint town ones, I think like over in Merrimack, and they had surrounding towns that could go to also.
Oh, but if we have one, then we could open it up to whoever, but
To everybody, yeah.
we need to do something.
Anything on the agenda, right? I mean, try.
I'm going to give this
You know,
to
if
you.
you're lacking
because
anything
you're-
to do, just call
No,
one of us.
no, I
you're
just-
kind of the point man
I'll
in
just, you
this.
know, I know everyone's,
I'll
it's a
get it.
new
Don't
year
worry,
and
I'm
everything.
over.
I just,
Yeah.
you need to understand too that we have a limited legal funds and they were actually reduced this year.
Yes.
So you just need to be aware of that.
Yeah.
There's limited funding for legal representation for this effort.
Okay. Seeing that it's 8:45, I'd like to open it up for public
I
input.
hope nobody was.
Since we have no members of the public here, I'll close public input.
You have any
Next item is the,
callers?
no callers, anything. Next is the administrator's report.
You done?
All right.
Just went through it all. Give him a break.
I have one request, and with everything going on, one of the things that we have is in our personnel policy, we have a maximum accrual of earned time that we're allowed to carry, which is 320 hours. And at the end of this month, I will exceed that cap. And I'm not in a position where
You're
I
fixed
can
income.
use
What's
or
the
lose
question?
it. So I'd like to have the board consider granting an extension, which is allowed through the personnel policy, until July 30th, 2020.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Pinciero,
I'll second it.
second by Mr. Larry. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
I'll just abstain
Okay.
because I'm not familiar with.
Okay. All those that opposed, all that abstain, motion carries 401. Seeing I don't think we've had any committee meetings since our last meeting. I don't think there's any selectmen reports unless somebody has something to add.
Most
I
of
didn't
us
get
just
it.
got a meeting.
Seeing we had no items moved for consent, we had no other business. Our next regular meeting will be April 13th, 2020 at 6:30 PM.
I have a question on that next meeting. Since we have a large expanse of people here, we're allowed to have 10 to meet. Would this be an issue if we, instead of going like this?
I believe there was another governor's motion, 10 that came out today. I believe, Rich, that you shared with us,
Still
which has completely changed the meeting, that we can even go to complete virtual if we choose, and we don't even have to have a public space for public input. However, we have to give them a means of watching or listening. So be it LCTV, YouTube, or we can give the telephone number here and they can be put onto mute. So they'd be able to listen to
I
it.
think
So
this worked out well.
I think this worked out
is
well.
right now,
As
I'd
long
rather do
as,
this.
I think the biggest thing is, what is our situation at the time? You know, do they come down with more shutdowns where we're at? But as of now, I would say we do a combination of this and virtual, just to see.
As we have.
And so we have the option, if members don't feel well at that time or can't come, we at least have means for everybody to meet together.
I'll make sure I'm well again.
And while we're all here, if we, of course, we have the technology to be able to call in and hold a meeting in case we need to have an emergency meeting, which likely we will
Yes.
between now and April the
Definitely.
13th. What is the best time for everyone?
Sunday afternoon.
Is it to stick with the 6:30, in the evening, 6:30 for an emergency meeting or
6
4?
o'clock is
I'm extremely flexible.
I
So
don't see where 6
I
o'clock.
just didn't know if anyone, if 6:30,
6:30 is fine with me. I don't know
I'm
about
pretty
anybody else.
flexible.
you're pretty flexible.
I'm pretty flexible at 7.
Okay.
No, 6:30 is fine.
Yeah.
It just snowed tonight.
Jack, you're enjoying your evening. Stay home.
What?
Okay. So,
Okay. So we'll play it by ear, what we need to do.
Yep.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Litch, second by Mr. Larry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 500. Good night, everyone. Thank you for tuning in and stay safe and healthy. Be well.